Welcome to the Dip Dive Podcast, where we explore ideas, stories, and conversations that matter. If you're into fresh perspectives and engaging discussions, hit subscribe and join the dive.
Okay, so you know that feeling, right? That heart-fluttering, sometimes agonizing, and often hilarious phenomenon of having a crush,
Uh-huh.
especially when they might not even know you exist.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, absolutely. The pangs of unrequited affection,
Yeah.
a tale as old as time itself.
Exactly. You sent in an episode from the podcast Laughing Through It
Okay.
that dives headfirst into this very topic.
Right.
It's a roller coaster of awkward encounters and over-the-top daydreams.
Right.
And honestly, it had me laughing out loud. Did any of it sound familiar?
Well, the episode definitely highlights some universal truths about the crush experience. For instance, it perfectly captures that tendency to overanalyze every single interaction with the object of our affection.
Oh, absolutely. Remember that part where they joke about interpreting everything as a sign?
Yeah.
A simple walk past your desk suddenly becomes a gesture of fate, or breathing in your direction means they're secretly planning the wedding.
It's fascinating because what seems like over-the-top humor actually has roots in cognitive psychology. Our brains are hardwired to seek patterns even where they don't exist. And when you add the emotional intensity of a crush, this pattern seeking goes into hyperdrive.
So it's not just us being silly, there's actually a scientific reason for all the overthinking.
Precisely. In fact, there's a cognitive bias called confirmation bias, where we tend to favor information that confirms our existing beliefs, even if those beliefs are totally unfounded. So if you're convinced your crush is sending you secret signals, your brain will latch onto any little thing that seems to support that idea, no matter how far-fetched it might be. And then there's the halo effect.
Hold on, the halo effect, is that like when someone has a glowing personality?
Not quite, though I love the image. The halo effect is a cognitive bias, where our overall impression of a person, especially a positive one, influences how we judge their specific traits. So if you're already smitten with your crush, you might unconsciously attribute positive qualities to them that they may or may not actually possess.
Ah. So that explains why every awkward joke they tell suddenly seems hilarious, or why their most mundane hobbies become fascinating. It's like we're putting them on a pedestal without even realizing it.
Exactly. We're essentially filling in the blanks with our own idealized version of them. And this can make it even harder to approach them authentically because we're so caught up in this fantasy version of who they are.
Which brings us to the next stage of the crush experience. Those often cringe-worthy attempts to get noticed.
The Laughing Through It podcast had some truly classic examples of this, didn't they?
They really did. Like the accidental run-ins where you strategically position yourself near their desk or in their usual coffee shop haunt hoping for a chance encounter.
Right.
Or laughing way too loudly at their jokes, even the ones that make everyone else groan. We've all been there.
I once tried to impress a crush by pretending to be a huge fan of a band they liked.
Let me guess. It backfired spectacularly. Oh, it did. Turned out I'd mixed up the band with a completely different group and spent the entire conversation digging myself deeper into a hole of musical ignorance. I think my face was the same shade as my cherry red latte that day.
Oh no.
I know, right?
What's interesting is that while these attempts to get noticed can be hilariously awkward, they often stem from a very real desire to create opportunities for genuine connection. We want to be seen to be acknowledged to share a laugh, or even just a brief moment of eye contact.
Absolutely. It's like we're saying, hey, I exist, and maybe, just maybe, you might find me interesting too.
Exactly. And that desire for connection is perfectly normal. The key, as the podcast suggests, is to find a balance between putting yourself out there and respecting boundaries.
So ditch the elaborate schemes and just be yourself.
Precisely. Authenticity is far more attractive than any contrived tactic. Plus, wouldn't you rather connect with someone who appreciates you for who you truly are?
No question. But let's be honest, even when we manage to get on their radar, there's still that terrifying hurdle of actually talking to your crush.
Ah, yes. The Moment of Truth, the Laughing Through It podcast, really captured that internal battle between wanting to play it cool and the sheer terror of making a complete fool of yourself.
I swear they must have been reading my diary. It's like your brain turns into a battlefield between two warring factions. The suave, witty side that knows exactly what to say, and the panicked, awkward side that's convinced you'll trip over your own words, blurt out something nonsensical, or worse, accidentally insult them.
You know that fear is actually deeply rooted in our biology. When we're faced with a situation that feels high stakes, like approaching someone we're attracted to, our bodies go into fight or flight mode. Our heart races, palms sweat, and our thoughts become jumbled as adrenaline surges through our systems.
So it's not just us being shy, it's our caveman instincts kicking in.
It's exactly. Social anxiety, that feeling of nervousness and discomfort in social situations, is a very real phenomenon that affects millions of people. And when you layer on the added pressure of romantic interest, it's no wonder those initial interactions can feel so daunting. It's like our ancestors are whispering in our ears, danger, potential for rejection, retreat.
And that makes it so hard to just relax and be ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Those initial awkward encounters, those fumbled words and blushing cheeks, are often the moments that create the most memorable connections. They're a sign that you're putting yourself out there, that you're willing to be vulnerable, and that you're genuinely interested in getting to know someone.
I love that perspective. It takes the pressure off trying to be perfect and allows us to embrace the beauty of imperfection.
Exactly. And the Laughing Through It podcast touches on another fascinating aspect of the crush experience, the tendency to create elaborate fantasies about the object of our affection.
Oh, the daydreams. They even joked about planning future weddings and picking out china patterns, all without ever having a real conversation with the person.
It's almost like we're writing our own romantic comedy screenplay, starring ourselves and the person we're crushing on. But while these fantasies can be incredibly fun and even a bit therapeutic, it's important to remember the distinction between fantasy and reality.
Because getting caught up in an idealized version of someone can make it even harder to approach them authentically, right?
Precisely. We might start projecting qualities onto them that they don't actually possess, setting ourselves up for disappointment when the real person doesn't match our imagined ideal.
It's like building a castle in the clouds only to have it dissolve when the first rain falls.
That's a beautiful analogy. And that's why it's so important to balance the excitement and anticipation of a crush with a healthy dose of realism.
So how do we do that? How do we stay grounded in reality while still enjoying the thrill of having a crush?
The key is to focus on building genuine connections both with the person you're crushing on and with yourself. Instead of obsessing over how to get them to notice, you shift your focus to cultivating the qualities you admire in them within yourself.
That's such a powerful reframing. So instead of daydreaming about being with this person, we could be actively working towards becoming the kind of person who embodies those qualities.
Exactly. It's like turning that unrequited energy into a catalyst for personal growth. Maybe they're incredibly kind and compassionate. Challenge yourself to practice those same qualities in your own life. Maybe they're passionate about a particular hobby or cause. Explore that interest yourself, even if it's outside your comfort zone.
It's like using the crush as inspiration to level up in life.
Precisely. And who knows that personal growth might even make you more attractive to your crush in the long run. But even if it doesn't lead to a romantic connection, you'll have gained valuable insights and experiences along the way.
That's such a refreshing perspective. It takes the pressure off the outcome and shifts the focus to the journey of self-discovery.
And that journey can be incredibly rewarding, even if it's filled with awkward moments and unrequited feelings.
The Laughing Through It podcast also emphasized the importance of humor in navigating the ups and downs of having a crush.
Humor is such a powerful coping mechanism. It allows us to step back from the intensity of our emotions and see the absurdity of the situation.
They had some hilarious examples of those cringe-worthy moments that we all experience, like tripping over our own words or accidentally saying the wrong thing.
But instead of dwelling on the embarrassment, humor allows us to reframe those moments as funny stories to share and laugh about later.
It's like turning those cringe-worthy moments into badges of honor proof that we dared to put ourselves out there, even if it didn't go exactly as planned.
Exactly. And that ability to laugh at ourselves is essential for navigating the complexities of human connection. After all, vulnerability is a key ingredient in any meaningful relationship, and that includes romantic relationships.
So embracing our awkwardness and imperfections is actually a sign of strength.
Absolutely.
Mm.
It takes courage to show up authentically, even when we're afraid of being rejected or ridiculed. And that courage is what allows us to connect with others on a deeper level.
It's like that quote by Brené Brown. Vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome.
Beautifully said. And I think that's a powerful takeaway from this entire conversation. Having a crush, even an unrequited one, can teach us so much about ourselves, about our capacity for vulnerability, resilience, and personal growth.
It's a journey of self-discovery filled with both laughter and tears. And ultimately, it's a reminder that even the most awkward and unrequited experiences can shape us into more compassionate, courageous, and authentic versions of ourselves.
So well said. It's a reminder that life is a series of messy, imperfect moments, and that's where the real magic happens.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of crushes, what does this all mean for you? You said in this episode you've been on this hilarious and insightful journey with us.
Perhaps some of those awkward encounters and over-the-top daydreams we discussed resonated with your own experiences.
Maybe you're realizing you're not alone and overanalyzing every little thing or trying a little too hard to catch their eye.
Or maybe you're finding comfort in knowing that even the most cringeworthy crush moments can become funny stories later on, adding a touch of humor to life's tapestry.
Exactly. But beyond the laughs, this exploration has sparked a thought-provoking question for me. What if instead of obsessing over how to get our crush to notice us, we shift our perspective?
Okay,
What if we look at this experience as an opportunity for self-improvement?
it's a fascinating idea. Tell me more.
Well, think about it. We often admire certain qualities in the people we're attracted to, right?
Yeah.
Their kindness, their sense of humor, their passion for something they love. What if we use those qualities as inspiration to cultivate those same traits within ourselves?
It's like turning that unrequited energy into a catalyst for personal growth. Instead of simply daydreaming about being with this person, we could be actively working towards becoming the kind of person we aspire to be.
Precisely. Maybe they're incredibly outgoing and make friends effortlessly. Could we challenge ourselves to step outside our comfort zones and be more sociable? Or maybe they're deeply passionate about art or music. Could we explore those interests even if they're completely new to us?
It's about harnessing that admiration and channeling it into positive action. It's about recognizing that we have the power to shape ourselves to become more of who we want to be, regardless of whether or not our crush reciprocates our feelings.
And who knows, maybe that personal growth, that journey of self-discovery will make us even more attractive to our crush in the long run. But even if it doesn't, we'll have gained invaluable experiences and insights along the way.
It's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
We either end up with the person we admire or we become a more admirable version of ourselves.
So, dear listener, as we conclude this deep dive into the wonderfully complex world of crushes, we hope you've gained a fresh perspective. Remember, it's not just about getting someone to notice you, it's about noticing yourself, about embracing your own journey of growth and self-discovery.
And never underestimate the power of laughter.
Yeah.
Even the most awkward moments can become cherished memories that bring a smile to your face years down the road.
Exactly. So go forth, embrace the roller coaster of emotions that comes with having a crush, and remember to laugh along the way. And who knows, maybe someday you'll look back on this experience and see it as the catalyst that launched you on the most amazing adventure of all, the journey of becoming your best self.
It helps the speaker lead his audience into the scene he described by creating an imaginary picture. Usually, it's something that moves. So then, why?